Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and expert in Warner Brothers Discovery. I've done more than 100 videos on Warner Brothers Discovery in just the last 4 months. And here we go. We need to do another video about the panic surrounding the reboot of Harry Potter. I've kind of almost never seen anything like it, except, I will say, for DC Comics because of the reboots that are being done by James Gunn. And I will say this much. We know what's going on with James Gunn. It's causing tremendous amounts of chaos. It's because of a lack of communication. And I almost feel like the same thing's going to happen again with Harry Potter. Fans are going nuts. Some fans are all for it. They're cool with it. A lot of fans don't like it. But what's interesting as well is all the way going back to doing research for this, January 31, 2021, a while ago, there were critics of JK Rowling saying they also don't want reboots of Harry Potter. And why don't they want reboots of Harry Potter? Because they don't want JK Rowling making more and more money. One thing about JK Rowling, no matter what happens, reboot or not, she's going to keep making more and more money. People love Harry Potter. Harry Potter had a series of 8 films. Those 8 films did $7.7 billion theatrically. Adjusted for inflation, certainly more than $8 billion, maybe 8.5, maybe even more. Quite a bit of money, and that money, of course, is not the limit that these movies make. They're sold back in the day, DVDs, probably even maybe VHS in 2001, who knows? Blu-ray, but these things still make money, but it's not enough money. And if you are the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, one of the things that you want to have happen is it doesn't help to have a multi-billion-dollar franchise if you're not releasing more and more film. And when it comes to this cast, you can't really see this cast making another 5, 6, 7, 8 films. It's just realistically not going to happen. So the key to all this is, will JK Rowling agree to do more films? I know a lot of people don't like the idea of the reboots. I understand it. To be honest with you, I've seen the first Harry Potter. It was way back when the thing first came out. It was well done. It was good. I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan one way or the other, but what I will say is just by offering JK Rowling the opportunity to participate literally as much as she wants in the films, a little bit more lucrative action in the money-making side of it, control of the casting, and also guarantee that she can help make the decisions of how close some of the actions in the films will be to her books, so that this would be like the ultimate series of movies. And she's not getting any younger. Why would she not want to see this rebooted? Additionally, the current cast of Harry Potter doesn't particularly care for her. Where we got Daniel Radcliffe, he said transgender women are women in a lengthy response to JK Rowling's transphobic tweets. Quote, any statement to the contrary erases the identity and dignity of transgender people. He is in a direct conflict with JK Rowling. She has different ideological views. They can't have that sort of conflict, and the property can't just kind of like end that way. Going back to the original material and rebooting it, who's upset by that? There are a lot of fans that think the films are perfect. If you think the films are perfect, please let me know in the comments below. It's a little bit hard for me to relate. I mean, I love the original Star Wars. I don't like what they've been doing with Star Wars. I actually liked Rogue One. I thought it was cool. It felt like a Star Wars movie. I liked Mandalorian Season 1. I thought that was good. I didn't watch any of the rest of it. I lost interest in it. I understand, if you're passionate about what happened with how they did the first 8 films, but I mean, these cast members do age out. They reboot Spider-Man constantly, and I've seen arguments where you can't treat superheroes the same way of some of these other properties. Realistically, it does seem to be like what the future of this is going to be. Let's look at this article from We Got This Covered. Harry Potter fans bracing for their worst nightmares as the inevitable reboot moves one step closer. And this is coming from November 4th. This was done after David Zaslav made the statement that, hey, we need to make more Harry Potter movies. These things were really profitable for the movie division. Why aren't we making more of these movies? Said the same thing about DC. DC is getting tremendously rebooted right now. This is what's going to realistically happen with Harry Potter. Before we get into the article though, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. The channel has been growing and I really appreciate you guys. Given the continued popularity of the franchise, even in the wake of creator JK Rowling's continued controversies, almost every single fan has resigned themselves to the fact that Warner Brothers are inevitably going to reboot Harry Potter one day. That is what a lot of these articles were saying, going back to 2021, going back to November when Zaslav was first talking. It does feel realistic. However, nobody really expected it to happen for a while, given that the Fantastic Beasts sequels were there to theoretically pick up the slack, tide audiences over, and give them their fix of the wizarding world. Based on comments made by CEO David Zaslav, the worst nightmare for many Potterheads could be happening a lot sooner than expected. But these things, of course, also take a few years to put together. The Harry Potter reboot keeps getting closer and closer in the future, and barely any times like, oh my god, we do not need a Harry Potter reboot for at least another 50 years. Are you serious? Watch them reboot Harry Potter as an HBO Max show. They were talking about doing at least some television version of Harry Potter as well. Channing Dungerley, head of Warner Brothers Television, was talking about that. He says, I swear to God, you know they'll effing do it. My villain origin story will begin when there is a Harry Potter reboot. I mean, how many years is Daniel Radcliffe doing this? And he doesn't seem to want to do more of these movies. So what else are you going to do? I just want to know why these companies want to reboot old stuff, but not get new ideas or adapt new books. Like, how difficult is it? That's a good question. Plus, no one wants more Harry Potter movies, especially knowing after JK Rowling said all that hateful stuff. To answer the first question of, can't you just make new ideas and adapt new books? Like, there's all sorts of stuff you could, yeah, you can. The problem is that the chances of something being a hit are like, 1 in 10,000. So when you're going to spend $100, $200 million making a film, another $100, $150 million marketing that film, you'd like there to be a built-in audience, of course. So that's why they develop franchises. And from those franchises, they can spin off even more franchises. That's the momentum of a universe of characters. It's very easy to find projects to make films about, but it's not easy for those projects to actually make money. I think you guys all know that. People are laughing about how Zaslav's bad math only works if it's currently 2026, but my guess is those numbers were being tossed around internally, RE release dates, and that's why they were on the top of his mind. So what they're talking about is potential release dates. We haven't made, when Zaslav said we're going to have a real focus on franchises, which is, how much more common sense can you have than that? Because those are guaranteed moneymakers. We haven't had a Superman movie in 13 years. We haven't had a Harry Potter movie in 15 years. So the math was off. People were trying to figure out what the heck is Zaslav talking about. He has no idea what the math. He's talking about future release dates. That's one explanation here. The other explanation was my explanation is if you exaggerate in conversation, people know that you really mean what you're saying. So it's sort of like cursing without having to curse. There was a time in my life when talk of a Harry Potter reboot as a TV series that really got all the plot elements right would have blasted my boobs right off my body with excitement. Now I prefer they just let it die. Aaron, I wasn't expecting you to say that. Zaslav seems like the kind of guy who would think a Harry Potter movie reboot would be a good idea. Not gonna lie. Yeah, does seem like that kind of guy. He is that kind of guy. He looks at franchises the same as Spider-Man. Every property should be his Spider-Man or a fraction of Spider-Man. So if you've got Batman, why aren't you making Batman movies like they're making Spider-Man? If you've got Superman, you've got Harry Potter, frankly, any property. Why aren't we exploiting that property with more and more film? Because from the films come the interest of everything else, from games, animation, TV show, licensing, everything. So films work. And as he explained in November in his conference, they can get 2 to 3 times the revenue domestically in the US from those films if they're franchise films, because the theaters feel more comfortable making an investment in promoting and featuring your content because they also know there's a built-in audience. You can't really get away from the value of a built-in audience. It's incredibly valuable. Not only did Zaslav effectively hammer the final nail into the coffin of Fantastic Beasts, but he also came right out and admitted that he wanted more Harry Potter films. He's very direct. Given that it's been well over a decade since the 2-part Deathly Hallows rounded out the 8-film original saga, not 15 years, the fear of a full-blown reboot has suddenly loomed large over the fandom. Of course, there's always the possibility that Harry Potter and the Cursed Child could be adapted with many of the original stars returning, but Daniel Radcliffe hardly seems to be all that interested. Emma Watson hasn't been spotted on screen for a long time either, but you'd expect a substantial pile of cash would help soften the stance of just about anyone. But the problem is this. They're not looking to make a Harry Potter movie. They're looking to exploit the Harry Potter franchise the way you would with the Marvel Universe, except, of course, focused keenly on Harry Potter because he's the Spider-Man of Harry Potter. This is the kind of conversation that you have in these kinds of business meetings. You make it simple, you make a metaphor, you make people realize what it is that you're talking about. They want to make money from their multi-billion-dollar franchises. They also have a $50 billion debt to think about, but even if they didn't have the debt, get. They're there to make content. They're there to make money. They're not there to try to figure out, like, how can we keep selling this movie from 2001? Try to keep selling that same old film. People have seen that. What they want is something they can show that meets the standards of what kids want now and what adults want now. It's got to be mainstream content, marketed and put together in a mainstream way. Let me know what you think of this in the comments below. Do you agree that it makes sense business-wise that they do a Harry Potter reboot series of the films with a brand new cast? Do you think that it's a bad idea creatively, that the original 8 films are more than enough and just don't do anything with them for 50 years? You know, you may think that. Does it make business sense? Because, I mean, you have to think of it from that standpoint, because the people that own these franchises are businesses, and they have to think about, like, what they're doing. This isn't just art. So let me know what you think of that in the comments below. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.